Morning and welcome to this, our first video, where we are going to be talking about how to outperform the environment. It's a whole new concept that Simon Berry and I have come up with, and over time we're going to share with you all the different concepts that we've learned throughout our lives that have really contributed to the success that we enjoy today. Just to give you a brief introduction of myself, my name is Brendan Palmer. I'm an entrepreneur. I've had about 30 years. If you see me I'm looking at all the books that have influenced my life and my thinking, and the results that I'm now fortunately enjoying in life. And as we go through, you'll get to hear more about my story. But just so that you know, my name is Brendan Palmer, and with me I've got Simon Berry, and we're going to discuss with you how to outperform the environment today.
Thank you. Hello. I'm very excited to be with Brendan here, talking about outperforming the environment. And as Brendan said, I am Simon Berry from Zimbabwe. Again, we connect with Brendan because I have a lot of research in terms of looking at the various things that contributes to success, to achieving goals. I also have a lot of personal experiences with a lot of some of these things that happen when we are trying to achieve our goals, and also what really makes things move. I also have a rich experience of having been influenced by some of the top performers in the various areas of business, personal life, but also in terms of how the mind works and how you can actually work on your mind to make sure that you outperform the environment and create the results that you want despite the environment in which you are operating.
So basically what we're going to be sharing with you today is how to get more out of life, how to get your environment to work for you rather than against you. And we're going to explain the concept of where outperforming the environment came from. And Simon Berry deserves the credit for that because he came up with that very clever concept. And I think, maybe if you can just share with us, Simon, what it's all about, just a basic summary of the outperforming the environment concept.
Yeah, outperforming the environment is a concept that is based on the realities of life. The first reality is that all of us, in one area or the other, we are striving to achieve our goals. That is, trying to be better than what we are at the moment. And as we exist within the environment, it's not very easy for most of the people to just have things happen naturally for them, because the environment has got its own forces. Now, the challenge is you'll find that if you're running a business, for example, you have no control over the environment. The environment can just change. So for you to continue succeeding and producing the results that you want to produce, or even better, the only opportunity that you have is to make sure that you, one way or the other, you have to outperform the environment. If you don't outperform the environment, what's going to happen is that the environmental forces are going to affect you, and you begin to see that your results are going to tumble, or sometimes you actually ending up experiencing what we term failure. So as we move forward, Brendan, most people, I think, they are aware that the rate of change in the environment globally is actually increasing. Complexity of the environment is actually increasing over time. So when you are looking at that complexity and the rate of change, which is actually increasing, what we need now to be focusing on is to make sure that we have got the right tools, the right approach, and the right methods, and the right concepts and ideas, so that we are constantly being in control by making sure that we outperform the environment. And that begins with our internal mental environment. Because once we don't control what happens in our own mental environment, then it becomes very difficult for us to be able to manage our results so that we'll be able to continue succeeding. We become reactionary to the environment. And once you become reactionary, it becomes very difficult for you fall behind the power curve. And then when you start reacting, you fail to respond. So that is why we are talking about being strategic by outperforming the environment, which means whatever the environment you are operating in, you must be able to still achieve or even outperform the environment so that you continue producing the kind of results that you want.
So I think it's a brilliant concept because it covers everything that we need to achieve more in life, and that's what everyone is going for. I've read recently a very good definition of intelligence, and intelligence very simply is nature trying to achieve all that it can be. Like a tree never grows to half its size; it always grows to as big as it possibly can. And as humans, we are the only species that doesn't grow to our full potential, simply because we don't understand how the mind works, because we are influenced by our environment, we're influenced by society. And I think, I was thinking about this show today, and I thought that one of the things that needs to come up is the war that everyone is fighting. All of us, you, me, everyone is fighting a war. And the problem is people have misidentified the enemy. The enemy is ourselves. The enemy is the way that we have been programmed. And the enemy can be simply and easily defeated through strategic thinking, through thinking long term, through getting ourselves out of our current situation, getting ourselves out of our current environment, and putting ourselves into an environment that we create, an environment of abundance, isn't it? Isn't that what you've been talking about? Like you're saying, being better than what we are.
Precisely.
All of us should be striving to achieve that.
I agree.
How do we do that? The first thing, right? Let's just give them a basic practical step that they can take to implement how to be better than we currently are. What's the first step?
Yeah, let me look at this this way, Brandon. We take, for example, a specific example, Zimbabwe at the current situation, where we are, the economy, isn't functioning as most people expect it to be. And because of that, you find that even top leaders, they can actually end up losing mental control of the business because they see these patterns and these things affecting them. And then because they now begin to think that they can't outperform the environment, and then they will start coming up with strategies that can actually conform them to the environment. You hear the words like survival mode. Trust me, I'm not saying it's wrong to make sure that you make adjustments to survive the environment. But if you say now survival mode becomes the only thing that you do for you to survive, it becomes you are now working within the environment. So what it means is you are now becoming reactionary through and through. So what I'm simply saying is the failure actually begins in the mind. So if you need to make sure that you are in an environment, for you to succeed, you need to have this mindset where you begin to look at how you can outperform the environment. Talking about the war, Brendan, I like the way you talk about war, because in the war situation, the whole thing that makes people win or lose is that capacity to think in terms of outperforming the environment. Because when you train your soldiers, they are trained to survive the harshest of the environment. So what their mindset, their training, their skills, there are skills that will make them outperform the environment. No soldier is trained to go to war in an environment which is where everything is normal. So you see what I'm saying. But even when they go to the war, they know that they are going into this kind of harsh environment, and they are prepared for that. So this is
they go in there to win.
They go there to win.
You don't find soldiers going into battle expecting to die.
Yes,
this is a very important concept with the outperforming the environment idea, is that, like you were saying, the survival mode in business, isn't it?
Yes.
That is basically going into war with the gun pointed at your own head. You're going to kill yourself because, why waste the enemy's energy and bullets?
Exactly.
If you go in with the wrong attitude, it is going to happen.
Yes.
So I like it that you said that survival mode, and that it's basically economic suicide.
Yes.
And if a quote comes to mind, it's that it's not the strongest of the species that survive, but the most adaptable to change.
Exactly.
And this is what we need to understand as a society, as a generation today, that if we do not adapt and outperform our environment, we become a product of our environment rather than producing the environment that we need to produce the results that we want and deserve.
Sure.
Confirm.
Yes.
So like you were saying, when survival mode becomes the focus, it's a death sentence.
Yes.
The survival mode may be a periodic, short-term period that you go through in business, and it happens from time to time throughout the world in any country.
Yes.
But if that is your only focus, you're dead. You're dead in the water. You might as well start looking for a job somewhere.
Very true.
And
yes.
the way to get out of that is to have a long-term vision, a strategic plan where you're looking into the future. Let's wait for that truck to go by. Where you're looking at least 5 years into the future so that you can see outside the environment that you're currently in. Because if you can't see out of the environment, you can't get there. If you're not looking for something, you won't see it. So I think, the first step is that you must have that long-term vision. Get out of your current environment by thinking outside of your current environment. Because if we understand the basic way that humans and nature works, is that every action is preceded by thought, which means that before any action can take place, a thought has to have happened, isn't it?
Yes.
Even before you speak, some sort of process has gone on in our brains to come up with the words that come out.
Yes.
So this is what we need to now relate this into the outperforming the environment concept, where if we are thinking properly, we can outperform the environment. We can create our own environment where we can thrive. And this is what happens in nature, and this is what we as humans need to come back to. We need to simplify things because things are so fast, isn't it?
Yes.
Everything's a rush.
Yes.
And everyone's rushing to nowhere all the time. They end up coming back to nowhere every year, wondering, what happened?
Sure.
Every year, life's so tough. I'm so unlucky. The environment, these people that, where it becomes now blaming governments, banks, businesses, economies, all sorts of things that are out of your own control anyway. And if they're out of your control, you can't control them, and they should never influence what you think.
Precisely. And now, Brandon, talking about other steps, the second step that you can also do is, there's the kind of thinking that we call status quo thinking. This is one of the things that really is a disservice to us. When you get into an environment where things are tough, there is a tendency for our reaction to be status quo, to remain status quo. Remaining status quo means we prefer to do things exactly the same way we've been doing things. So by continuing doing the same things in the same way in an environment that has changed, we are going to create and continually creating the same results that we don't want. So it becomes the barrier to the kind of new results that we want. So what we want to do is we want to go and revisit that status quo environment that is blocking you, that is standing between your current results and the results that you want to produce. So that becomes the battle that you've talked about, the internal battle. You need to revisit, get inside yourself and look at the status quo mechanism, the patterns of thinking, feeling, and behavior that are keeping you thinking in the same way. For example, when you hear people saying this thing can't happen in this particular environment, already that kind of thinking can actually block you from trying out new ways, new possibilities of doing things. So already once you start failing to do new things or to try to do things in a different way, already you are stuck in this status quo. And as long as you're in that particular status quo, you will find that you are going to become a victim to the environment, because now you believe this thing can't happen in this environment. And also the other thing that happens in this particular thing we're talking about is, if you get into this environment and most of your time you're now focusing on saying it's not my fault, it's the environment. So any result that you are creating, you're now saying it's the environment. You have completely lost control of your destiny and of your future and of your new results that you could be producing. And of your thinking. So the control that we are talking about, the mental control is very, very critical. So that you put yourself in the complete equation, that what you are thinking, what you are doing, and what you are feeling about the environment is also contributing to the results, not just the environment. So it's about how you respond to the environment, so that no matter what the environment is happening, what is happening in the environment, you are able to outthink yourself. You are able to go beyond the traditional, normal reactions that we normally react in the environment, so that you'll be able to think properly, remain calm, and you actually come up with a breakthrough that can actually help you to continue succeeding within that particular environment. So the thing is this way, Brandon. When you go into the kind of war you were talking about, they say success in a battlefield, 90% is the mind. It's only 10% which is physical. So the moment you believe that you are finished because the environment is like this, automatically, yes, that is the point where you become finished. We are not saying that all the time 100% you will win against the environment, but if you get into the environment with a defeatist attitude and saying that this is what the environment, you accept what the environment is and you accept everything that is happening within that particular environment, automatically you are already dead before you even do anything.
Exactly. Okay, so just to sum up then, I think what we've discussed, because we've discussed a lot,
yes,
I just want to try and simplify everything for the viewers so that they can take this away and
sure,
implement it into their life. The one very important thing was that we are at war. It's an economic war that we're fighting throughout the world. Everyone is struggling in every country because things are changing so quickly. The environment is changing quicker than the people's thinking. So the first thing is to get away from the status quo thinking, the acceptance of that this is the environment, so this is how life is for me. It's not that at all. This is what you're saying, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
We're saying that we have to outthink the environment so that we can see ourselves in the situation where we want to be. The only way that we're ever going to get there is by starting to think about it today, so that within the next 5 years or 2 years or 10 years, whatever the period is, we are able to create that environment. Confirm?
Sure.
So it's step number one is to come away from the status quo thinking and start thinking outside the box. Start thinking that we can rather than we can't. The next thing is to help you to achieve that. You need to have a vision. You need to have a strategy, a long-term idea. So that is that 5-year idea where you look into the future. You see yourself in the future having achieved the things that you want to achieve, having served society, having served your community, your economy with progressive, positive things, because that's the only sustainable way. The next thing is to think outside of now, isn't it?
Yes, yes,
now is now is real. You cannot live outside of right now. It's impossible. Now is the only thing that we have. That's why it's called the present.
Sure.
So to get outside of now, or to change the now, we have to change the future. You can't change the past, you can't change the now, but you can influence the future. So therefore we must be constantly thinking about how in business and in life, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. But if I focus on business, if you want to increase your profits, you need to increase your sales. You need to come up with different strategies, and you implement them now. You will not see the results tomorrow. Confirm?
Yes, yes.
It takes time. This is the secret of success. The secret of achieving great things in life is the understanding of the concept of time. It takes time to achieve big things. So understand that it's going to take time, but do the thing now so that you can enjoy the results later.
Sure.
The next thing is that the war against the programming and the wiring. We have to reprogram ourselves by constantly feeding ourselves with positive new information. Don't be influenced by all the negative that's happening in the world, because there's lots of it. But for every negative, there's an equal and corresponding positive. And we must understand that, and we must focus on the positive rather than the negative.
Sure.
The next thing is what you said, which I really liked, was the victimhood. 95% of the world's population are victims of the environment, because they have not understood the concept of outperforming the environment, of becoming a victor of the environment by thinking about the environment and changing the environment and creating the environment that is conducive to what you are trying to achieve in business and in life. And then the next thing is that response to the environment. We should not be responding to the environment, or we should not be reacting to our environment. We should be rather creating the environment that we need. And you do that by constantly finding different ways that suit your vision, that line up with what it is that you are trying to do. And if we can get this across, I hope it's come across in an impactful manner, because those simple 5 steps, or was it 5 steps? 6 steps, sorry. 6 steps that we've discussed at length will change the way that you think, will change the results, will change your life, will change your economy, will change your community. If you just follow those simple steps, if you just understand those basic concepts. And because there's a lot that we've been through there, in future programs we're going to explain each of those in detail, so that each of those can come with a very basic 5 or 6 step framework that people can take, implement into their lives, into their businesses, and then slowly start to outperform the environment and enjoy the rewards that this whole program is all about.
Yes, I think the last thing is just to make sure also people understand, our viewers, that what we are talking about, the first critical step that is very critical, like what you have said, is to make sure you are in control of what goes on in your mind. Don't believe everything that you are thinking now, because one of the things that happen is most of the time is people believe everything that they think. They're thinking, they believe everything they think is true. If they hear a lot of people talking about this, then it becomes truth. Most of the things that we believe are not based on real facts. They're based on opinions, they're based on folklore, tales and things like that. So one of the ways in which you need to start controlling the environment, especially if you are stuck and you are facing difficulties in your situation, is stop believing everything that you are thinking. Because once you start stopping believing some of the things, you find that most of the things that you are believing now are negative. And they are also very, very effective. And you know, negative is 14 times more powerful than negative. That's the thing that is dangerous. So stop believing anything that you are believing right now and get back to the basics, so that next time when we go into the subsequent programs, we are going to share with you some of these steps that you can actually, and specific areas where you can focus on your thinking, so that you begin to outperform yourself in the minds first before you outperform yourself in the environment.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks very much. Sorry, I got a tongue twister there. This is called Outperforming the Environment. We have a website. Look for Outperforming the Environment. There's a blog. There's all on social media, and the YouTube channel is called Outperforming the Environment. You can also find us through Sabre Business World, which is my company. You can find us through Simon Berry, which is Simon's company. Please log on, follow us, tell your friends about it, share the information. This is a free service, and we are going to constantly be building upon what we've shared with you today and giving you information that will change your lives. Thanks very much. Till next week. Have a good week.
Thank you.